A Cameron Johnson trade is about to be made as we are getting closer and closer to that January 15th kind of deadline that I'm giving the Thunder, as that's when Isaiah Joe and guys like Aaron Wiggins that signed in the summer are available to be traded. Now, I highly doubt Aaron Wiggins will be traded after his recent play. All right, I'd be very surprised to see OKC do that now. He's really found like a second step. He found like this kind of, I don't know what kind of train to call it, but he's on some sort of train. He's not running out of steam or coal. Ever since that Charlotte game, he's been stepping up big against contenders like the Knicks and Celtics. That was amazing to see his performance last night against the 2024 NBA champions. He's been playing great. Might contend for a starting position as well. However, cannot say the same for his counterpart in Isaiah Joe, who even admitted earlier today that he has been struggling from three and he needs to, kind of step it up a little bit, as that's what Oklahoma City really need right now. They need a reliable open three-point shooter, and Joe just has been that. He went 2 of 5 against the Celtics. Yeah, that's good. Defensively, though, and just not great either. Not getting a ton of good looks either for his teammates. Not passing the ball all that well. Not really rebounding either. So just a lot of negatives that have been going on with him. We know he's a great three-point shooter. It's just a matter of he hasn't really been stepping up. Not to mention guys like Kenrich Williams, who are veterans that, kind of running out of a spot for this team. Could also be in a potential trade for Cam Johnson. As always, Ousmane Dieng would be a part of these deals, as he's just not going to get the time to develop in OKC, and he's a project that, Brooklyn Nets might be able to take on and be like, hey, we might be able to turn him into something. Also, there are other suitors out there for Cam Johnson, so we're going to break down everything that we know at the moment before the trade deadline hits on, I believe, February 6th. Before we get all that, though, if you guys enjoyed the content that we're putting out here and you want to support the channel but don't know how, the best way to do so is just by hitting that subscribe button. It's the best way to support. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to talking. Now, the first thing that I saw that was kind of talking about all this stuff right here. Boom. Oh, let me get it down a little bit. All right. Thunder are viewed as the strong betting favorites to trade for Cam Johnson per DraftKings Sportsbook. Currently at plus 275. The other day, we were second favorites at like plus 450, plus 500. So this jump kind of tells me something like, hey, something's going on where the Thunder are actually going to get this deal done. The Kings at plus 450. All right. I've heard about the Kings being in that. I don't think it's likely, and we'll talk about it later in this video. The Nuggets, I don't see it happening either. Grizzlies, I could see, but with Jimmy Butler on the trade market, I think they're going to target him or, not target anyone at all. And the Warriors, I don't see that happening either. They don't have a lot of, trade capital to get rid of, and all the guys that Brooklyn would want in return, I don't think Golden State is willing to give up. Guys like Kuminga, Pods, like those guys, I don't think they're willing to give up, all right? That's we'll wait closer to the deadline, though, before moving Johnson, since they have their desired market. This is interesting considering they're waiting till the deadline, and that January 15th timeframe that I mentioned, where like guys like Isaiah Joe can be traded, stands out a lot to me, all right? It stands out because that's close to the deadline, so they might be waiting for them to become available, and there might be a deal in place already that OKC and Brooklyn are just waiting on this one guy to be available to be traded. This was also coming off the heels of this right here, that the Kings and Thunder are in hot pursuit of Cameron Johnson. So it's one of those things just showing like, hey, they're talking about it. And I know people keep on saying as well, like, is OKC actually going to go get him? Are they actually going to do this? What about that Gordon Hayward trade last year? Doesn't that leave a bad taste in their mouth because of that? I see, us as Thunder fans talking about that all the time, and other people from other fan bases. I just want to get out of the way. The Cameron Johnson trade would not be the same as a Gordon Hayward trade. Gordon Hayward was traded to the Thunder to free up cap space so the Thunder could go get a backup center in the offseason. That's exactly what they did in Isaiah Hartenstein, okay? Cameron Johnson would come on this squad to truly make them the best team in the league and the team to beat in the finals. Because realistically, all right, having Cameron Johnson as part of that starting five out there, and then you have Hartenstein off the bench, Caruso, AJ Mitchell, Aaron Wiggins, J. Will, those guys off the bench. Really, really good squad. Not to mention Cason Wallace as well and move down there. Like, you have a really good squad at OKC if you get this Cameron Johnson trade done, all right? And people keep on saying, like, oh, what if he's another Gordon Hayward? He doesn't play nearly as good, blah, blah, blah. Like I always say, Gordon Hayward was to free up cap space, not make this team a contender, all right? They were already contenders as it is, but it wasn't going to put them over the edge. That was the thing, okay? Now, I want to get into talking about why I think teams like the Kings and Grizzlies are more unlikely not to trade for him. All right. First off, let's go ahead and look at the Kings draft picks. All right. The coming years. You notice they don't have any other team's draft picks. It's just their own. All right. This makes it very unlikely in my mind and eyes that they'd be willing to give up 2 to 3 of their own first round draft picks for Cameron Johnson to potentially make the playoffs, make it out of the first round. Okay. I don't see that happening. I just don't. All right. I just in no world do I see them giving up their 2026 first round pick, 2027, any of these first round picks that they have. I just don't see that in any world. Just realistically looking at it, I don't see it happening. All right. However, the other team, the Kings, okay, or not Kings, the Grizzlies. All right, look at this. They have some draft picks to spare. All right. They have 2 in 2026. Okay. Or no, they don't have 2 in 2026. It's a swap. That's my fault. That is a, swap opportunity. They could swap or keep their own. That's pretty much how it goes for every other one. They have they have 2 in 2030, but that's it. They only have 1 in every other draft. So it just kind of makes it where I don't see the Grizzlies actually making this trade. If anything, they're going to try to go to Miami, get Jimmy Butler out of there, get him on Memphis and try to compete with him. But I want that to happen though, is the thing, because they would have to give up some depth. They'd have to give up Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart. All right, their backup point guard, Desmond Bane, many view as their best defender on that team. They'd have to give up some key pieces just to get Jimmy Butler there in Memphis, where they don't have depth, and I still think OKC has the better starting 5. So no matter what, I think these two teams are for sure out on Cameron Johnson. It's going to come down to the Thunder. Now, recent news came out talking about how the Pacers, all right, are now putting together a package, surrounded by Obi Toppin and Nesmith. I still don't, I can see it happening. I don't know what kind of draft capital that they have. Even then, I'm fine with that trade happening as well, because it keeps them out of the West and doesn't put them on a contender to really hurt the Thunder. They could be a scary team in the East, make it to the second round, really upset someone in the first round, maybe even make it back to the conference finals and upset someone in the second round as a 4 seed. But still, even then, I'm just kind of looking at it I don't think that puts that team over the top where we meet them in the finals and we should be scared. It just kind of makes it where, okay, I'm fine with that happening. The Thunder still have the best team in the West due to these, teams not being able to get him that we're trying to in the Western Conference. It's fine. However, I do think OKC has the perfect package to put together to make this happen. Okay. This is what I kind of had going. All right. OKC trades Isaiah Joe, Ousmane Dieng, Dylan Jones, 2025 first round pick, 2026 second round, 2027 first round pick via Denver. That is protected 1 through 5, by the way. I think Denver's going to fall off. I still think they'll be a playoff team. That pick fall around 16, 17, have decent value there. 2025, I know our pick won't really have a ton of value, let alone right there. It's just kind of interesting to see a pick swap. It would be a pick swap with Houston and the Clippers. Both teams are making the playoffs. With Kawhi Leonard now being back with Los Angeles, both teams are making the playoffs. Okay, so that pick won't have much value there. Cameron Johnson, though, all right, that's all they'd be getting in return. You can see it's predicting, 2 more wins, all right, and actually a better offensive and defensive rating. Okay, that's because Ousmane Dieng and Dylan Jones, they don't play. Isaiah Joe does, but his 3-point shot, like he mentioned earlier today, he's been struggling. He has been. Okay, we get that. We understand he has been struggling. However, I think we can all agree Cameron Johnson is a significant upgrade over Isaiah Joe. Okay, I think we can all agree to that. He is a significant upgrade. Another thing that people, tend to also forget, he was on a finals team with the Phoenix Suns. People forget that. That's championship experience right there. He didn't win, but he was there. He's had a few runs in the playoffs as well. That always helps out, as that's a concern now for a bunch of people, is the experience. Do they have enough experience on the squad now? Well, that brings experience. That brings one of the best 3-point shooting stretch 4s in the league, brings another rebounder in, brings some more size. All right. It just, the positives greatly outweigh the negatives, and there are more positives than negatives anyway for a Cameron Johnson trade. The only real negative people are attaching to this trade is, does he mesh together? All right. They keep on bringing up Gordon Hayward. He is not the same as the Gordon Hayward trade. He is not. That was to free up cap space. This is to actually make this team a contender. That is the deal right there. Okay. And I get it. We have emotional connections to guys like Isaiah Joe and Kenrich Williams, but the end goal is a championship. Okay, if these guys are not helping us out come playoff time, but we know Cameron Johnson would have, people would regret this team not making the trade. And I could be dead wrong as well and be like, oh, and this end up being one of the worst trades ever. And I'd bite the bullet for that, all right? But I'd want everyone else to bite the bullet If we all agree this trade doesn't happen, we keep Isaiah Joe or Kenrich Williams, and they're not really doing much for us in the playoffs, and we could have been like, man, we could have had Cameron Johnson. I want you guys to take ownership for that as well, all right? That's simple. I truly think this puts the Thunder as the clear-cut best team in the league, and no one beats this team in a 7-game series. I think they even beat Boston and Cleveland in 6 games. I truly believe that. With the Cameron Johnson deal done, I think they beat Boston and Cleveland, the 2 other best teams in the league, in 6 games, maybe even 5. I have no doubt about that in my mind. That's all I got for this video. Once again, as always, I want to hear your guys' ideal trade packages for Cameron Johnson, as it does look like a deal's about to be made for him in the coming days. That's all I got. I'll see you guys in the next one.